Hello and welcome to the Wicker Library. My name is Aaliyah, so glad to have you here today. This video is going to be an interesting one and it's going to follow a week in my life, but I'm going to try and swap my screen time average of the most recent week, which was about like a bit over 3 hours a day, and swap that with reading time and actually read for at least 3 hours each day of this week. I have my birthday this week. I'm not planning anything crazy big. I actually will probably just want to read during my birthday, but I am going to be reading a few different books. I'm really excited about all of them, but instead of giving you like a TBR at the beginning of this video, because I don't know if I'll stick to it, I'm just going to talk about what I'm currently reading. So what I'm going to begin this vlog off with is firstly The Other Merlin by Robyn Schneider. I'm a chapter into this. I don't have really any opinions yet. My friend and I both bought this copy together and she has already read it and annotated it, and I'm going to be reading it and then annotating it and like texting her my thoughts and opinions. But we both picked this up because it sounds really good. It's like, you know, King Arthur retelling a bit. I think it's loosely a retelling. I think they flip a bunch of things on its head, but it's queer, it sounds cozy, it sounds low stakes fantasy, it sounds messy and funny and just light, and that's kind of what I'm in the mood for right now. She ended up hating it, so I'm going to see how I'm going to feel about it, especially since I'm going in expecting not to like it as much, and she went in expecting to love it and was really disappointed. So maybe I'll like it, maybe I will be pleasantly surprised. But it is really funny reading her annotations, because like at the end of, what was it, the prologue, she writes, "Ooh, I have such a good feeling about this." You thought. So that's the one thing I'm reading physically right now. And I'm also picking up the audiobook of The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, I believe is the title. I'll put the cover up here. But I've also like only read the prologue of that book. But the audiobook narration is dual narrators, so that was exciting. So I'm hoping to enjoy that when I don't feel like reading physically. But those are the plans. I have already read, I'm gonna estimate an hour. I've read less than an hour, but I've read an hour today. So I'm gonna try and read for 2 more hours today, and then I'll start properly like timing myself and things like that to prove to you all that I can read for 3 hours every day. So I have been reading The Last Merlin for the last hour, and I'm about 70 pages into it. I think I'm going to end for the night. I'm going to listen to an hour of my audiobook so that I can make it roughly 3 hours read today. But as for how The Other Merlin is going, I am enjoying parts of it. I like the dynamic that the prince has with his best friend. Like friendship dynamics like that always catch my eye immediately. I think that my biggest gripe right now is with the writing style and how heavy-handed it is. It's a very clearly feminist retelling of this whole story, and I love that. I'm a feminist. You know, I enjoy when feminism is a theme in the books that I read, but personally I prefer when it is not just told to you over and over again. There have been so many lines where it's very much like, because I am a woman, I am taught and raised to like love ribbons and not read books and cast spells. And it's like, yeah, okay, this could be subtext. This could be themes that are not just like hammered over you again and again. Like, we get it. We get it. Now let's show the like what this means for the character, what this means for this world, what these impacts are, instead of just this one girl in her head going over and over again, line by line, just being like, I am a woman and that sucks. And it's like, yes, I don't want to invalidate that. Like, it does, but it's very heavy-handed, which is just a personal gripe of mine. And I understand it's YA, but I feel like the excuse of a book being YA and therefore sometimes you just need to spell things out is a little disrespectful to young adults, you know? Like, I'm going to be turning 20 this week, so I don't know how much of a young adult I still am, but when I was, 14, 15, maybe the age range, I don't really know what the age range for this book is, but say young adult age is like 14, I could comprehend feminist theory, not, in a crazy amount of scientific philosophical text, but like in the fictional fantasy book I was reading, I had the brain power to do that, and a lot of others as well. So just something to consider, something to ponder. But I'm enjoying the characters for the most part. The main girl, as I said, is a little annoying, but I think that's just the way she's written right now. I also think it has an insane amount of point of views. I love dual point of view perspectives, but it's all in third person. And I think we've had like 4, and like one of them felt like she would not be a returning character, so I don't know why we switched into her head for like 2 pages. It didn't make sense. So just some structural critiques there, but I am only 70 pages in. It's like a 400-page book, but I've been enjoying it. I'm going to put it down for tonight and read an audiobook, like I said, for an hour, but I'll be continuing it for sure. I'm not allowed to DNF this, according to my friend. She thinks that I will want to, so I'm curious where that shift will happen, if it will happen. It is actually now probably afternoon, so good afternoon. I've been reading a lot today. I didn't read that much yesterday. I don't think I really met 3 hours, but we're just gonna say I did for the sake of this vlog. But I went to a cafe this morning with my mom, and we both read our little books. I was reading The Other Merlin, and it's a book. It's a book. It's not the worst book I've ever read. It's not even that bad of a book. It's just not very good. And of course, that's my opinion, all of that stuff. The writing is just not my thing at all. It's very repetitive. It's very, very convenient. And it can't really figure out what tone it wants to be. Some of the characters I really like, but I don't love them. I just like them, especially in comparison with one of the main characters, Emery. She's not the most infuriating character I've ever read. I've definitely read more infuriating characters than her, but she's just not smart. And that sounds so bitchy to say, but she's just not, her decisions are so dumb. And then the narration will be like telling you that she's like the best ever. She's the best wizard. And it's just like, it's so convenient because the mistakes she makes are just for plot, but they're really lazy because the mistakes she makes, no person in their right mind would make. I don't know. It's a very frustrating read. Thank God it is fast-paced, though, because if it wasn't, I would DNF. I don't care what Lauren told me. I would DNF it if it wasn't fast-paced, but I needed a break, so I decided to fold a bunch of my laundry and do some chores to an audiobook, and I was reading The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I'm really enjoying that book. It's really weird and whimsical and dark, and that writing is immaculate. It's so good. The audiobook narrators are pretty decent. I've, again, read better, but it's definitely a well-narrated book, and the plot is very fascinating. It is one of those books that kind of treads the line between fantasy and reality, and you don't really know what genre it is or what is actually happening and what's like in the character's head and things like that, which I love. I love kind of that surrealist magical realism genre. It's just my favorite thing, but it's very well written. Right now it's more of a mysterious book about this very magical, mysterious woman named Indigo, and it's just narrated, I think, in only two perspectives, and it's neither of her perspectives, but one is about her childhood friend talking about meeting her and growing up with her, and then one is in the present and it's her husband talking kind of about her and who she is. And so it's very vibes, not plot right now, which I like. I like it a lot. And it's a nice palate cleanser for when the other Merlin is pissing me off. So yeah, I've read about an hour and a half total today, so I'm just going to continue reading since I'm like halfway through my goal. But yeah, those are the updates. So for my birthday, I went out and my sibling treated me to a bunch of like organizational things from Daiso, which is like my favorite shop ever. So now I redid my little coffee area of the kitchen where I have my little mini espresso machine. I have all the beans and then brown sugar, which I use all the time. I have my nice little cups, all the espresso stuff all organized, straws for when I make iced drinks, all the cleaning stuff, the grinder, obviously the chocolate pump, little baby cups, and then like my gooseneck kettle that I use when I do pour over. I'm very excited and happy with how it turned out. So yeah, look at it. So it has been not a few days, but I haven't updated you since Sunday. Yesterday was my birthday. I turned 20. It was a very fun, relaxed day. I didn't do much of any reading. I decided to hang out with my family instead, which was really, really nice. So I'm glad I did that. But today I've done quite a lot of reading. I've already reached my 3 hours for the day, but I had my first shift back at work since being gone for a few weeks, and it wasn't that long of a shift. My legs hurt like hell, but because I work, I was able to commute. So on my commute, I read like a bunch of my audiobook, and I'm really enjoying The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by roshani. I'm really enjoying the writing style. I kinda am waiting for things to become more fucked up in a sense. Like everything now isn't mundane by any means, but there's this tension and there's this mysterious atmosphere going on, but it feels like it's at the precipice of something, and I'm just really excited for it to reach that and go over it. Like someone has to like die or something needs to like really happen, because I'm about 60% through, and if we really get down to it, nothing's really happened, but I'm still enjoying the book. Although I can't say the same about the other Merlin. I'm also about 60% through, and also really nothing feels like is happening. And I've already FaceTimed my friend who already read it, Lauren, and we ranted together about how it's just not great. It's just not a book I'm enjoying. I really want to DNF it, but I won't. I will hold out. I know there's a sequel. I will not be reading that sequel. I know that for a fact. I just don't like the writing style. It's super repetitive. It's super juvenile. Lauren described it as like middle school boy humor, which is so true. And the characters are supposed to be 19. They're not. They're not 19 at all. Like, no. And they're just so immature, and the characters are so surface level. Like, it feels like the author had a character outline and thought that that was a character study and just ran with it. And so the characters I just don't care for at all. Like, I don't care. They could all die and I would feel not anything. Like, I don't feel, some of them enrage me. Others infuriate me. Some I'm like, oh, you're there. Some I like a little bit, like they have moments, but they're just so flat. And it's not an enjoyable reading experience. But speaking of some hopefully more enjoyable reading experiences, I just stood up from my bed and I regretted it immediately. My legs really do hurt from standing up and making coffee all day. But I got this in the mail today, Small Worlds by Caleb Azuma Nelson. This is the author of Open Water, one of my favorite books. I'm really excited to do a reread of that eventually, but I'm so excited about this. I think it's a family story, and I just know it's a novel, and I just know it's an auto by author. So like, I'm really excited to get into that. I don't think I'm going to read it next. I think I have an idea of what I'm going to read next, but I'm going to wait until I finish The Other Merlin. Finally finish that damn book. It feels so long. There's no reason it needs to be 400 pages. It could be half the size. I'm so done with that book. So I'm really excited to finish it. And I'm really excited to move on to the rest of the books that I really want to. Good morning. It is a very good morning, actually, because I finished The Other Merlin, and now I never have to continue reading that book or that series. It was just not good. It was not my cup of tea. It was super juvenile. I absolutely despised the reading experience of it. I just was so annoyed with all of the characters. I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the plot, what little of it there was. It was so convenient. It was so predictable. It was all over the place. It didn't feel like it was planned out at all. There was just like conflicts thrown in. There was no arc. There was no like consistency. There was no and the foreshadowing wasn't foreshadowing. It was front shadowing and telling you what was going to happen. And you were like, oh yeah, so we know, but the characters didn't. And it was not fun. But I'm finished with it now. I thought I would show you all my little reading journal that I have. I've been doing it since 2020, and this is like, since 2020 I have my like little reading spreads. But yeah, so I put The Other Merlin in this category. It was in this category because it was my TBR, and any sticky notes are like from my physical TBR. So I put that over in there, and I have my little ratings. It is 2 stars. I reserve my 1 stars for more like problematic or where it's a little more objectively not a good book. Sometimes there will be 1 stars that, you know, you slip in through there that are just a personal 1 star, but usually books I really dislike but can't really tell you are like horrendous or like horrible are 2 stars. The last time I felt this angry about a book or reading it or just like rage finishing it was the Sunbury Trials, and I had similar gripes with that one actually. These felt very similar. So honestly, if you really like the Sunbury Trials, you might like the writing in the other Merlin, but it was not good. So I'm really excited to continue reading books that I actually enjoy, because I know some booktubers and just some people really like to, you know, do reviews and videos on books they dislike. And as much as I enjoy consuming that content, I don't really like making it. I don't like not enjoying a book. That's why I'm such a DNFer. Like, if I'm not liking something, I'll stop reading it. I read just for my enjoyment for the most part. And so I'm excited to actually start picking up books that I do really think I'm going to like. So I was considering starting this book here next, The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrun. I'll have to look up how this author's name is pronounced so that I can say it better in the rest of this video. But I know this is a romance book. I know it has a demisexual character. It's a queer romance, and it feels like a book that I will really enjoy. And since I wanted a good romance from the other Merlin and did not get it, I feel like it makes sense to pick up one that I think will deliver on that front. Although I'm also thinking I might pick up this book, which I got while in Connecticut with my dad. My dad saw the cover and he was like, that's a really cool cover. And then I looked at the back and it actually sounds like something I really enjoy. And that is People from My Neighborhood by Hiromi Kawakami, translated by Ted Goosen. This is a small little book, and it's a bunch of short stories that all kind of tie in together, and it's just short stories about this weird little neighborhood, and it's just these glimpses at these people and their lives, and I love that shit. I love mundane, like, books like this, so I might use this as a palate cleanser before picking up The Charm Offensive. So I haven't decided yet. I think I'm going to do some reading of The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, just because I want to read that right now. That's what I'm in the immediate mood for. But yeah, that is my updates. I never want to really talk about the other Merlin again until maybe, you know, a wrap up or something like that. But yeah, good riddance to that book. Happy Thursday. It has been a really nice day, actually. I've read for about 2 hours today already. I'm going to read for another hour, but I did finish People from My Neighborhood. It was really good. It was the exact type of book that I love. Like, the little collection of short stories, they all had a similar thread, so it did feel like one complete novel. It was rather open-ended, which I'm fine with. I know there will probably be people who don't really like how open-ended it is, but it's very bizarre and absurdist, and it doesn't always make sense, but it's always a good time. And there were some chapters / stories that I really, really liked, and others that were just enjoyable. And the book as a whole was just, I don't know, it scratched the right part of my brain. I really loved the tone of it, the writing, everything about it was just my type of shit, and I loved it. I did start The Charm Offensive. I've only gotten like 15 pages into it, but I'm really, really liking it. It's the type of humor that I really like. I can already tell that there's going to be a lot of characters that I love and I fall for, and there's going to be dynamics that I love, and the premise is already really fun. It's about these two men who meet on a dating show, but one is the bachelor on the dating show and the other one is the producer, and they end up falling in love during the show while, trying to put on this entire show about finding true love with these women. And I'm really, really excited about it. And I think it's gonna be my type of book again. Especially after the fail that was the other Merlin, I'm really excited for a romance that I actually really enjoy, that is also, queer. Honestly, I rarely pick up completely cishet books in general, but also romances. They just don't do it for me. And I also know that one of the characters in this book is demisexual, which any sort of asexual or aromantic representation just gets me. So I'm really excited to continue. And yeah, I just thought I would come on here and update a little bit. I've been having a very good time. Hello. So it has been now like 2 days since this vlog has technically been complete, and I thought I would just do an update. I did finish the Charm Offensive. I'm gonna need like several days of recovery in order to talk about that book. I thought that I could talk about it the day after I read it, but I finished it last night. Just heavy sobbing, like feeling nauseated because I was crying so much. I can't really explain how much that book meant to me. It was just a romance that I've been wanting to see for a while and been wanting to read, and just the discussions on being worthy of love, deserving love, and love in different forms that aren't romantic, the platonic relationships, the discussions on asexuality and aromanticism, and just all of that, it did it for me. It really it really did. And I was absolutely devastated by that book in the best way, and I'm really excited to talk about it more. I'll probably talk about it in a wrap-up or something when I can fully gather my thoughts on that book, but it's definitely going to be a favorite of the year. I can't quite eloquently articulate right now how much that book did it for me. So I'm really excited to read more from that author. I'm curious if her other books will affect me that much. I hear good things about them too, so we'll have to see. But I have really enjoyed filming this vlog. Actually, I've read so much this week, and obviously, reading 3 hours a day, I knew I would get through some books, but I didn't realize that I would get through so many books that are new favorites. Besides the other Merlin, which I knew going in that I probably wouldn't enjoy very much, putting aside time specifically to read and picking up books that I just know I will like and actually loving them, it felt so good. And so I've had a great week of reading, and honestly a really good year of reading. I'm excited to see by the end of this year my thoughts and what stays favorites, what gets, pushed down the list by more books that I read and love. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any recommendations or thoughts, anything like that, I love when people comment and I can have little chats and discussions. That makes me very happy. But I am more active on Instagram, and I have a bookstagram that I'll link in my bio and my description of this video. But yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will see you all in the next video.